We left Phoenix this morning about, what time was it? About 8 o'clock. I think it's about noon right now. We're pretty close to the Nevada border. So we're almost to Hoover Dam. Billy and I just made our first rest stop, but it's 102 outside. So like we can't really chill or anything like that. Plus there's no shade out here and it's all dirt. So like her feet get pretty warm. So we try and make these stops pretty quick, but she's been doing okay in the heat. Hey, come here. Yeah, see right here. We're on our way to Ely, Nevada. So it's about almost 600 miles from Phoenix, and we're gonna stay there tonight, then go to Boise, and then make our way back to Seattle by Saturday. Today is Thursday. Got my Kit Kat. But a couple notes about the truck. The seat is pretty uncomfortable. This is probably the most uncomfortable seat I have had in any of my trucks. And the seating position's not great. The cushions are not great. I mean, besides that, it's been okay. The steering wheel requires a lot of input. So if the road is not perfectly level, if it's even off a little bit either direction, it's like constantly kind of pulling that direction. So it's like you constantly have to kind of give little corrections, and that's not a big deal. Especially the seat 2 is not a big deal over like short drives, but when you're driving 8, 10, 12 hours in a day like I'm doing the next 3 days, these things are kind of annoying. So this is not the most comfortable vehicle I've had on like long range trips compared to like my Ranger and the F-150, but it's been reliable so far, and the gas mileage isn't too bad. It's about 22 on the freeway on these longer trips, but in town it's been about 18. So overall, I'm enjoying the Tacoma so far. But yeah, I'm just gonna try to make my way back to Seattle. We might try to stop for a little hike this afternoon, depending on how much time we have. So we'll see. But we're gonna get back on the road. I do really like this RAM mount. I'll show like a little clip of it next time I stop and kind of explain how I did this whole phone setup. Because I can also mount a bunch of other things here. I can mount like cameras, GoPros. Those are the same thing, I guess. Another phone, a tablet. I'm really happy with this whole little like setup I have right here, and it's like flush. You'll see it when I show it. But we're getting back on the freeway. We're gonna go over Hoover Dam and then make our way through Vegas, and then another 4 hours until we get to Ely, Nevada. Another rest stop. You know, logistically, it's pretty difficult to travel with a dog through the Southwest during the summer, just because there's like so few places to stop where there's shade, where the ground isn't like on fire. Right now it's 100, almost 110 where we're at. We just got through Vegas, and we're heading up now towards Ely, Nevada. And yeah, it took me a while just to find, I guess, space where there's like not just packed rock where the ground would be a little bit cooler for Billy. But we found something. She was able to use the restroom finally, because she hasn't wanted to pee, I think, just because the ground's been so hot. But now we're heading up towards Ely. We gave her some water too. She was pretty thirsty, obviously. We enjoy traveling during the winter. She's fine in the car even when it's below freezing. She's pretty comfortable. But yeah, this is something very different and not ideal. So in the future, we're gonna probably stick to like these cross-country travels during like fall to spring, not so much during the summertime or summer months. But I mean, overall, she's doing okay. We're pretty close to. We're heading, I guess, towards the Great Basin National Park. So that's pretty close to Ely, Nevada. So it's still, let's see, the sign said 270 miles from where we're at. So we still have a bit of driving to do today. It is pretty out here. I do like the whole desert thing. Vegas is growing so much. I can't believe like how big it is now compared to like when I would come here as a kid. Of course, it's been almost 30 years since then, but I can't believe how much it expanded. It kind of just sprawls forever now, and it was like, it seemed like when I was growing up, everything was kind of centered around the strip. Everything's booming, but there's no water out here, so I don't know how that's something's gonna give at some point. Anyways, we'll be in Ely in a few hours, and then rest. Hopefully I can find something to eat, and then start the trip up again tomorrow. I'm about 100 miles south of Ely, Nevada, and it's really empty out here. So in terms of like stretches of highway that I've been on in the western United States, this is one of the most sparsely populated. So I've been to like pretty remote places in like Utah, Montana, Idaho, Eastern Washington, and like Northern California. And this is like way more empty than even those areas. Usually like you still run into like a Starbucks or a McDonald's every couple hours, but there's nothing out here. There's no chain restaurants, no fast food. Gas stations are even like pretty far apart. It's pretty, and I appreciate that like we still have these like kind of wide open spaces here in the lower 48, but I just want a coffee or something to eat, and it looks like it's gonna be a few hours at least. Are you ready? Ready for another long day of driving? Billy and all the gears already loaded up in the car, so we're gonna take off. We're in Ely, like I mentioned yesterday, but we're heading over to Boise today. I kind of wanted to go to Great Basin National Park, but it's about an hour and a half drive, and then we have to go there and back, so it's about 3 hours onto the trip. And then I have Billy, and in a national park she can't take dogs on any of the trails or anything like that. So it seemed like it would be kind of a waste of a 3-hour drive and all the gas, given how expensive gas is nowadays. So we're not gonna do that. I'll come back another time without Billy. It's already getting pretty warm, so we're gonna grab some McDonald's and head on the road. But really quick, let me turn this down. I will show you the RAM mount I have set up right here, since I mentioned that yesterday. It's pretty cool, so let me flip this around. I'll put a link in the description to everything I bought, but I bought this metal plate which goes up here. It's from I think it's a taco factory or taco something like that. Like I said, I'll put a link, but pretty much you just snap this off, and this is really easy to snap off. It took me like a minute. You just kind of pull on it around the edges, the whole dash snaps off. You drill some holes, mount that plate on top, and then you can screw in ball mounts, and you can screw in a bunch. I think this one can hold 4, so I could have 4 mounts potentially, with like a iPad, maybe iPad mini, or another phone mount, or one for a GoPro. And then on this one I just put a regular RAM mount, like the ones they use on motorcycles, and my phone fits right here. So I can put my phone here. It's really sturdy, like the phone will not come out even when you're off-roading. And you can also mount it horizontally. That's kind of how I'm filming the videos when I'm driving. Overall I really like this, and I could move it over here if I wanted, or just anywhere I wanted, honestly. So far in terms of like phone mounts, this is like the best one I've ever had in any vehicle. And it's so convenient that it kind of makes up for the lack of CarPlay in this, because I got used to the last couple of vehicles I've had having CarPlay, but I'm not missing it so far just because this is so accessible and easy to see. So there have been some comments recently, and if you watch the channel long enough, you've always kind of seen Sylvia around. She's been around in all the, like, especially the road trip videos, and just in the background of a lot of videos and things like that. And if you're kind of new to the channel or you don't keep up to date on those things, Sylvia was my fiance. We actually broke up a couple months ago, and she moved back to our hometown in California. I live in Seattle, if you're not super up to date on things, but I still have Billy with me. Overall, that's kind of why the videos like have been kind of all over the place, and also I haven't been posting as often, just because I'm honestly just trying to figure out what my life looks like kind of now by myself. It's not the first time I've lived on my own, but it's been a while. Sylvia and I got together in 2011. It was right before I turned 20, and right before she turned, sorry, not 20, but 21. We're about 6 days apart in age, so like we got together like right before our 21st birthdays. She moved in about a year and a half after we first got together, so like that was like 8 years ago. So like we moved in together 8 years ago, so we spent like a lot of our like pretty much our full like adult lives up to now. We're about to be 32 together, so it's an adjustment, you know, just because it's a big life change, especially living on my own, not having that person that you've had for like, most of your adult life. And everything's okay. I mean, I'm getting through everything, but for the people wondering why there hasn't been any references or any mentions of her, or why she hasn't been in the background or around, that's the reason why. I wasn't sure if I should even talk about it at all, but I also had like our engagement video from May 1st last year, so it's barely been over a year since I posted like the proposal video and stuff, and now she just like disappears from everything. So for some people that might have been kind of weird, and I'm like, okay, I figure I should maybe address it. And there wasn't any kind of dramatic blow up, no super interesting thing that led to the breakup, like no infidelity or lying or cheating or something super dramatic, but it just wasn't working out for either of us. And you know, the thing is, like, I've always heard like this thing like the love language that people talk about, or it's like, and it sounds kind of dumb and I kind of dismissed it just based on the name, but like the concept pretty much is that everyone has their own way of showing affection or love or things like that. And Sylvia and I were pretty like, we really weren't on the same page with the kind of how we express things. I won't go into like a ton of detail, but the things I would do to kind of express affection or love and things was very different than how she would do it. And the thing is, you tend to kind of expect it back the same way you give it. So like over a long period of time, it's like we're both putting in energy, we both feel like we're kind of expressing ourselves and putting energy into the relationship, but then neither of us really feels like we're getting anything back, even though we're both putting things in. So I'm like, I did feel like we're both trying, and then it's just not being seen by either party. And then like eventually over time, that just, you kind of just feel like you're putting effort into it and the other person's not, even if that's not true, and you end up getting resentful and you stop trying, you start having negative feelings towards the person. And I mean, there's more to it than that, of course, but I think that was a big factor. And I think it's important to either kind of accept, or I mean, you don't have to accept it. You should just find someone that you kind of get what you need from them. But over time, people change, and like you kind of have to get to know the person and kind of know how they express themselves, and kind of accept that might be they are trying. It just might not be kind of what you're used to or what you normally expect or how you do it yourself. And it's really important, I think, sometimes to have like a third party, maybe like a good friend or someone that you can confide in that's kind of outside the relationship, because sometimes you really need like a third party that's not biased, because it's like really hard to diagnose a relationship when you're in the relationship. Honestly, I would say it's kind of like impossible. So I think it's important to have like good friends that really have your best interest and your partner's best interest in mind, that you can kind of talk to about things and bounce ideas off, and kind of make sure that, I mean, we're all biased, so I kind of just check your bias and kind of tell you when you're in the wrong. Like I have some friends that will call me out when I'm like talking about things, but like, you're the bad guy in this story you're telling me about, this fight or something like I might have with Sylvia. I mean, sometimes you might not have that type of friendship, or you might not trust a friend or something like that, so maybe counseling is probably a good idea for a lot of people, especially if things get really personal and you really don't, some things are a little bit too personal, obviously, to share with like a friend or family member or something. And there's no shame in that. Historically, I think we had like churches and priests and kind of like people are a lot closer, and we had more resources to kind of share and talk and get advice from the people around us. And we're a lot more isolated nowadays, especially with social media and things like that. So we are, I think, more relying on people like, or professionals like therapists to kind of help with these issues. I'm going off on a tangent here. I'm just kind of talking about nothing, but that's kind of just what acknowledging, or at least addressing, the whole Sylvia missing issue. And I figure I'll talk about it now, because just on this trip is a little bit, I don't want to say rough, but it's different. It's kind of odd because we do these trips together, and especially with the dog. I've never traveled with the dog alone, and it's like I'm so used to like our trip routines where it's like Sylvia and I each had our own part to play in all those trips, and now I'm doing that all on my own. And you just can't, all the little interesting stops and things like that, it's like I don't have anybody to really share that with. So I'm like, it's kind of top of mind on this trip just because of that, mostly. Because because I'm like, oh, I see something, I stop, and why this is cool, and I'm like, then like, okay, but now what? Who do I tell about this, or do I even tell anybody, or just keep it to myself? And it's just an adjustment. That's dripped down a little bit there. That's kind of all I have to say about that. Everything will be good. I have a lot of plans going forward, and hopefully be posting more. I know that I think the channel's direction is going to change a bit, and well, I don't know. We'll see. I'm an optimistic person. I look forward to the future and things going forward. So at least there's that. We made it to Boise. Going for a walk. I don't know the name of this park, but it's pretty cool. It's right kind of near downtown. So we're gonna rest here. I'm gonna try to find something to eat, maybe somewhere that's dog friendly. We're working on Billy's like manners so we could take her more places. And he stopped saying we, so I could take her more places. So hopefully find some beer and a burger or something. So I'm back in Washington. Sorry if you hear the wind noise in the background. This just seemed like a really nice place to end the video. Like, look at these clouds. It's amazing. So finally back in Washington, almost about 4,000 miles on the truck. It was about 3,800. We're about 200 miles from home. So by the time I get home, there'll be 4,000 miles on this. I don't really know what this video was about. It was kind of random and all over the place, but I'm gonna have more focused content coming soon, and I'm gonna be doing kind of like a long-term review, even though it's not super long-term. But this truck has 30,000 miles on it. I put about 5,000 on it myself. So I have a good idea about how I compare it to my other vehicles. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about the things I've done to it so far and the things I'm going to do to it. I'm gonna compare it to the Ranger, the F-150, the whole 9 yards. So I'll have a video on that soon. And I'm just gonna be doing more videos again now that I'm getting settled back into a routine and everything. And if anybody has any suggestions or anything else you want to know about, questions or anything like that, please leave comments. I appreciate that. And I enjoy interacting with everybody. And I hope everyone's doing well, and I'll see you out there.